Morning, guys. I wanted to share with you a picture I think the Lord showed me as I was praying this morning. It was of a backdraft explosion. That's where a fire burns itself out in a room, and then when a door's open, there's a reignition and an explosion. Backdrafts happen when a fire has used up all the oxygen in a room and it looks like the fire's gone out, but all the particulates for combustion remain hot, and any oxygen that comes back in, if a door's open, for instance, causes an explosion unless that room's left sealed and shut for a long time to cool down. And in terms of interpretation, I felt it meant that there's a fire burning that's been growing around the world, and the enemy has come along as the ruler of the kingdom of the air, and he's using this virus to try and suffocate the move of God that's taking place. And there's this isolation in the physical, and it's an attempt by the enemy to close people into rooms where the fire of God will burn out. Now, the enemy's already had a movement of inviting Christians to remove themselves into isolation and separation from the body of Christ. We've seen that in particular for the last 20 years. And those Christians have nearly used up the oxygen that used to sustain them. Some of them have completely gone out, but some are still smouldering, ready to burn again. And this virus is being used by the enemy for a second mass isolation of Christians as the enemy seeks to consume the oxygen left in the body of Christ, trying to burn out the body of Christ and cause it to go out. He wants to consume the church in terms of its access to the atmosphere of heaven and the economy and money to share and spread the gospel. And the enemy is trying to starve the body of Christ of the kingdom and its finances for mission and smother the body of Christ with fear. But it's a dangerous strategy for the enemy, for the elements that fuel fires remain above ignition temperatures for a while, and if oxygen and air is reintroduced, a backdraft from an open door or window causes the explosion. And I believe it's prayer that's going to keep the church superheated and above ignition point. If we guard our hearts from fear and decree and declare that what God is doing, and fast and pray and care for the poor, we will stay superheated. If we give as we have never given financially before, we will be superheated above ignition point. And our virtual gatherings and our reaching out are going to bring more of us into those closed rooms. And I see a return of those Christians who've walked into isolation coming back, and a sign will be there reconnecting to us. And then there's going to be another wave of those who aren't Christians who are going to join us. Our virtual gathering is the reversal of how the enemy has used cyberspace to distract and remove people. While the world shuts down with nothing but fear to share online, the church is now going to flood cyberspace and the internet with hope and resources and invitations. And as we tell our stories of miracles, of giving and hope and faith, our temperature is going to grow and grow and grow and not diminish. And we're going to get hotter and hotter. And we've already seen that just in the last few days, the rush of people connecting and reconnecting. And where people have become isolated and buffered from the kingdom, insulated from God's fire, they're going to gather into our homes and our virtual prayer rooms. And at some point, the Lord is going to intervene, and he will intervene, cut the enemy off, open all the doors and the windows around the world, and the oxygen will rush in, ignite, and there will be an explosion of revival like we have never seen.